There is a life waiting for you, a real one, not a fantasy, not a dream, not some impossible version of reality. A life that could actually be yours, a life filled with growth, purpose, confidence, meaning, peace, strength. A life where you become the person you know you're capable of becoming, and every single day, you move either closer to that life or further away from it. Most people believe their biggest problem is failure. It's not. Most people believe their biggest problem is lack of opportunity. It's not. Most people believe their biggest problem is bad luck. It's not. The biggest problem for most people is much harder to accept. They are refusing to become who they need to become. Think about that. Not unable, not incapable, not unlucky, refusing. Because deep down, most people already know what they should be doing. They know. They know they should wake up earlier. They know they should stop wasting time. They know they should take better care of themselves. They know they should be learning, building, growing, trying, risking, creating. They know. The problem isn't information. The problem is action. Information has never been more available. You can learn almost anything, any skill, any subject, any craft, with a few clicks. Yet millions of people remain exactly where they were years ago. Why? Because knowledge isn't transformation. Execution is. There are people who have read hundreds of books about success and remain unsuccessful. People who know everything about fitness and remain unhealthy. People who know exactly how to improve their lives and never do it, because awareness without action is one of the most dangerous traps in existence. It creates the illusion of progress, without actual progress. The hardest truth you'll ever face is this: the life you want requires a version of you that doesn't currently exist. Not because you're broken, not because you're inadequate, because growth is required. The person you are today cannot automatically create the future you want tomorrow. That future demands more discipline, more courage, more consistency, more responsibility, more resilience, more patience. Every meaningful transformation begins with identity, not results, identity. Because people don't rise to their aspirations, they fall to their identities. If you see yourself as someone who quits, you'll quit. If you see yourself as someone who procrastinates, you'll procrastinate. If you see yourself as someone who avoids discomfort, you'll avoid discomfort, whether you realize it or not. That's why change feels so difficult. You're not simply changing actions. You're changing who you believe you are. And identities fight for survival. Even bad identities, especially bad identities. The mind prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. Read that again. The mind prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. That's why people stay in situations they hate, jobs they hate, habits they hate, routines they hate, lives they hate. Because familiar suffering feels safer than uncertain change. Comfort is not always comfortable. Sometimes comfort is misery you've become accustomed to, a prison you've decorated, a limitation you've accepted, a version of yourself you've stopped questioning. One day you wake up. The days become weeks. The weeks become months. The months become years. And suddenly you're looking at a life you never intended to create, not because of one terrible decision, because of thousands of small decisions. Thousands of moments where comfort defeated growth. Nobody plans to waste their potential. Nobody dreams about becoming average. Nobody hopes for regret. Yet regret is full of ordinary people who simply delayed change for too long. People who kept assuming there would be another chance, another year, another opportunity, another beginning. The frightening thing about time is that it doesn't announce itself. You don't wake up and realize you've wasted 10 years. It happens gradually, quietly, until one day you notice the gap between who you are and who you could have been. That gap hurts, not because you're comparing yourself to others, because you're comparing yourself to yourself. The version that never got a chance, the version that was buried under excuses, the version that kept waiting for you. Imagine meeting that version. Imagine standing face to face with the person you could have become, the stronger version, the wiser version, the disciplined version, the courageous version, the version that kept going when things got hard, the version that didn't quit. What would they say to you? Would they be proud or disappointed? Most people spend their lives trying to escape discomfort, but discomfort is where life happens. Growth happens there. Strength happens there. Confidence happens there. Everything valuable happens there. The problem is that discomfort charges an entrance fee, and most people aren't willing to pay it. They want confidence without risk, success without sacrifice, results without effort, respect without discipline, growth without pain. But life doesn't negotiate. The price remains the same. Always. You either pay now or pay later. You either pay with discipline or pay with regret. You either pay with effort or pay with disappointment. One payment builds your future. The other haunts it. The life you want isn't hidden. It's visible. You can see it. You know what it requires, the habits, the actions, the standards, the responsibilities, the sacrifices. You already know. Most people do. The real question isn't, what should I do? The real question is, when will I stop avoiding what I already know? That's the question that changes lives. Because eventually, the excuses stop sounding convincing. The reasons stop sounding valid. The delays stop feeling temporary. Eventually, reality arrives, and reality asks one question. What did you do with the time you were given? Not what you intended, not what you imagined, not what you planned, what you did. Because life responds to actions, not intentions. The future is not built from wishes. It is built from repetition, repeated discipline, repeated courage, repeated effort, repeated action, day after day, week after week, year after year. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of those repetitions, a version you've never met, a version stronger than you think, more capable than you think, more disciplined than you think, more resilient than you think. But that version only appears when you earn the introduction. Nobody can become that person for you. Nobody can suffer for you. Nobody can discipline themselves for you. Nobody can build your future for you. That responsibility belongs to you. And strangely, that's good news. Because if responsibility belongs to you, power belongs to you too. The moment you stop waiting for perfect conditions, your life changes. The moment you stop waiting to feel motivated, your life changes. The moment you stop negotiating with your potential, your life changes. Most people are waiting to become someone else before they start. The truth is the opposite. You start first, then you become someone else. Action creates identity. Identity creates behavior. Behavior creates destiny. That's how transformation works. Not through magic. Not through luck. Not through motivation. Through action. Years from now, you'll either meet the person you were capable of becoming, or you'll meet the consequences of avoiding them. And those two meetings feel very different. One feels like pride. The other feels like regret. The life you want exists. The person you want to become exists. The future you dream about exists. But none of them are waiting for permission. They're waiting for action. They're waiting for courage. They're waiting for commitment. They're waiting for you. The question is, how much longer will you make them wait?